Hey everyone, Dr. JJ here. Today we're going to talk to you about high fructose corn syrup and really, kind of dive into, is it the same as sugar? And if it's not, then what are the 5 main reasons why it's not? And let's first give a little bit of back history on what high fructose corn syrup is. Simply put, it's high fructose, meaning it's more fructose than glucose, sugar made from corn. So back in the early 70s, they started to figure out a way to digest the corn to get a higher yield of sugar out of it, and that kind of happened and made high fructose corn syrup. What high fructose corn syrup really is it's about 55% fructose and about 45% or so glucose. Now, fructose and glucose are monosaccharides, and when we see them in nature, let's dive into the 5 main reasons why high fructose corn syrup is different than regular table sugar or cane sugar. When you look at cane sugar in and of itself, it's a disaccharide. It's usually a fructose and a glucose, 50-50 balance. They're bound together really tightly, and when so your body has to cleave them apart, and it means it has to work a little harder to raise your blood sugar. And that's one of the things we've talked about a lot here in these videos, is that the rise of your blood sugar after eating is really what causes you problems. It's not really the overall sugar concentrations, which that matters significantly, but it's the quick, sharp rises and sharp falls that give you the symptoms of hypoglycemia, hyperglycemia, these types of things. But so going back to our fructose corn syrup here, when you have just those free monosaccharides, which is what high fructose corn syrup is, it's 55% fructose and about 45% glucose. When you have those free, they get into your bloodstream quicker. Now, it does take a little bit more energy to actually get them into your system, but it gets as a straight sugar into your system. Sugar in your system is probably the worst thing that we have right now in today's society. Overall, no, it is not bad. We are biochemically, made to eat sugar. We're designed to be addicted to it. It's a readily, easily digested food source, energy source, and we're supposed to eat it. But unfortunately, in today's society, whereas 10,000 years ago we'd maybe have 20 tablespoons a year, now we're eating almost 140 pounds of sugar in a year. The average soda has as much sugar as a human would eat 10,000 years ago. That's absolutely ridiculous. We're in a calorie glut where there's a lot of things bubbling out there. It's basically we're calorically excessed but nutritionally deficient in a lot of different areas, and high fructose corn syrup plays a lot into that. So the part of the reason, I'm kind of all over the place with this video, but part of the reason why high fructose corn syrup kind of came about is because they started pulling the fat and flavor out of foods back in the 70s because they thought that was causing heart disease. And unfortunately, they had to sweeten it in order to make it palatable by humans, and they sweetened it with high fructose corn syrup. So that's number 1 reason, is there's just way too much sugar in today's diet. I think even as far back as just 200 years ago, our diet only consisted of about 4 pounds of sugar. 300 years ago now, 1700s, about 4 pounds of sugar, and at the turn of the century is about 50 pounds. It's absolutely ridiculous how much sugar we're eating. That type of dose is considered a pharmacological dose, and it can be related to anything from non-alcoholic fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, which they're calling Alzheimer's now, as being linked to what they're considering a type 3 diabetes. So all of these diseases of degeneration that are plaguing modern society really can be heavily tied into sugar. So that's one of the things that we really need to work on getting out of our diets. The second thing is that sugar can be, the high fructose corn syrup has been shown to be somewhat toxic. There's some anecdotal stories out there of former FDA researchers that they couldn't get vats to test because it's out of the realm of testing for the FDA. But she posed as a new soda company and she wanted to test the high fructose corn syrup. So they sent her a tub of the high fructose corn syrup, and she found mercury. She found other chemicals that they didn't know what they were. On the spectrographs, there were spikes where there shouldn't have been spikes for the fructose and glucose. And it was just really disconcerting. for the overall safety of the high fructose corn syrup, that it was pretty toxic. So that's the other one. That was number 2, that it can be pretty toxic. Number 3 actually goes back to what we were talking about with, it's the non-natural kind of sugar-bound thing. So it's, whereas with cane sugar, you'll have a disaccharide, 2 sugars bound tightly together. With fructose, high fructose corn syrup, you're going to find a monosaccharide, and it's going to be a monosaccharide higher set to the fructose side of it. So the 55% fructose and 45% glucose, whereas in normal cane sugar, it's 50-50 each. And when you look at that, fructose is much harder to digest and is much harder on our physiology. One of the quickest, I was in a lecture a couple years ago, and the lecturer said that one of the quickest ways to get a non-alcoholic fatty liver is to eat an excessive amount of fructose. So that really kind of plays into it. And I would agree with them that, it really does change how well your body metabolizes sugars and fats the more fructose you eat. So that's stage number 3. So there's to recap thus far. 1, we're just eating way too much sugar, and high fructose corn syrup plays a heck of a lot into that. 2, it's pretty toxic. And 3, it is too much fructose, and not balanced, and then it's not bound together. So it's in its free form of monosaccharide, which really just starts to mess with our blood sugar. So those are the first 3 things. Number 4, we really shouldn't have this stuff in our diet. It's really pretty, just no point in our history have we ever had this much sugar, this much fructose all year round in our diet, and it's just not part of the human diet. There's nothing out there ever that has supported this much fructose, or this much sugar in a human diet. No species, no one has ever seen this, and it is destroying our health and our society. And I have no problems laying sugar to blame for all of that. Number 5, last one, and I'll leave you for today, is that if it has high fructose corn syrup in it, it is the hallmark of a nutrient-devoid food. If they have to add fructose to it, if they have to add high fructose corn syrup to any type of food, it is not going to be a real food. It's going to be packaged, processed, devoid of almost all nutrients, and nowhere near healthy for you. So that in and of itself, if you're trying to live a healthy lifestyle, there's no way you can ever justify that will be good for you. None. I'm sorry, I just can't get behind it. So those are basically the 5 things so to recap again, the basic 5 things that the reason why high fructose corn syrup is bad for you. 1, it leads to way too much sugar consumption in our diet today. 2, it's toxic as hell. 3, that it's way out of balance for any type of natural food, that it's a monosaccharide, which there's very few monosaccharides found in nature. And then it's out of balance to fructose, to glucose. So it's even outside of what we normally can metabolize well. Number 4 is that it's just not supported. You cannot find anything in literature anywhere that says fructose is good for you in that massive of quantities. And then number 5 is that it's going to be put into not foods that are healthy for you. It's not going to be in anything that is going to build your body up and make you a better human. So it's just going to be, your body's going to be going the other direction if you're eating foods with high fructose corn syrup in it. So I'll leave you with that until next time. Make your health easy and enjoy your day.